Okay, so joined by Joe Akik, Kai, Ray. I should have done everybody's second name, but we'll continue. We're all in London today, so I've traveled over from Portugal. I was doing an event with my sister, helping her do a supplement event, which was good fun. Joe, you're based here. Let's go around and intro ourselves. Yeah. What do you do, Joe?
Yeah, so I'm Joe Akik, wealth manager based in London. Working with mainly entrepreneurs, founders, professional athletes as well, and high income individuals generally.
Lethal. And as you can see, Joe is literally the definition of a wealth manager. He just fits he's always suited and booted, just everything. Kai, what do you do?
I own a digital marketing agency. We are a growth partner for high ticket service-based businesses based in the UK as well, in London. So we build sales funnels, websites, landing pages, and digital growth engines for our clients. We offer our services to a lot of different industries, but really at the moment we're doing really well with high ticket service businesses.
Lisa, and if this is going on LinkedIn or YouTube, you've probably seen Ray's face before. Ray, tell us what you do.
I am Ray Sadiq. I am the global head of marketing at Horizon 7, and I'm an organic growth consultant as well. I've worked across social, search, PR, anything organic, to be honest. I've grown Instagram accounts from 0 to 100,000 followers, got millions of views across TikTok for brands. Basically, yeah, anything when it comes to social search, I'm your guy.
Awesome. I think it's quite funny because we've all met under different circumstances. So Ray, I think you came to my event 2 summers ago now in Manchester. That's where I met you, and then Maddie Martin as well. He's also a really good friend of mine now as well. Kai, you got introed from me, from a guy who did email marketing for us, introed us together. You built our website and we just became friends over that. We've now been to Dubai together. We're going to San Diego as well. Joe, I think I met you at 20 Stories in Manchester when you did the event, which was good fun. And again, just everybody kind of clicked together. And we're all similar age. We're all 26. You're the little baby. You're 24, actually.
You're 24? Yeah. Why'd you invite him? He's too young to be.
I kind of like it. He's like a mini me. He kind of he doesn't really argue with me when I say things. He's just like, oh, great idea. So what I think is really interesting, why I wanted to kind of do a podcast today about this is we're all kind of very, very, very driven, similar age, building different things. Joe's in the wealth industry. We're both in digital marketing. You're growing your digital marketing agency. In fact, Kai was our first client, a paid media job.
Yeah, it was.
We gave him a very good discount for a client testimonial. But yeah, so we worked together on that. And then Ray, we just keep on bumping into each other.
See you everywhere.
Yeah, we've just become really good friends on that. But like, we've been to San Diego before. We've been doing a lot of things. So I thought it'd be cool just to do a podcast, just chat, because we have these calls every 2 weeks anyway, where I sit down and it's like one of those calls where I've literally got my pen and notepad, because you know everything about freaking algorithms and socials and stuff. You know a lot about algorithms as well. So backstory about Joe, in fact, you can talk about it in a minute if you want, is that I've told you before, I've had a friend before who does the exact same thing as you. And I told them like 2 years ago, you need to get on socials and start posting about this, because the wealth management industry, to me, when I picture that, it's a 55-year-old, 60-year-old old man in a suit. Whereas you're 26, young, you do everything in London. You go to every event, you sit in Soho House, the Ned, like everything. But tell us a bit more about how you grew the Instagram.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, what, in Instagram specifically?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting.
Instagram's so I suppose, it all probably started from speaking to you guys. I think Matty in particular probably had a lot of input, because I know this was something that we spoke about quite a lot. He was telling me you need to start putting yourself out there, because as someone who's I suppose I'm not in marketing as you guys are. You know a lot more about marketing than me. You understand how important it is to be present, and I think it's that reminder that you just need to put yourself out there, let people see your face. That's the most important thing. So what I kind of intended to do really was just put myself out there enough that people would start to recognize me, understand what I do, and just get known for doing that. It wasn't necessarily to convert clients straight away, but just to almost make them familiar with me, what I do. And also it is a fantastic lead generator.
Yeah.
It works incredibly well. I get a lot of really good clients.
Crazy numbers on Instagram. You did like 780,000 impressions in 1 month on something.
No, it was it was like 900,000 in the end.
So
Yeah, it was
insane.
it was insane. It was crazy, and I think that month I booked about 60 meetings,
incredible.
which was like too much.
Was that your first month as well?
No, that was so obviously I was doing the LinkedIn stuff for a while. Mostly I've done everything through LinkedIn always because it's the one that's just worked for me. Obviously I've got the top voice badge. I've worked with some of the editorial team from LinkedIn. So that was all that I really knew. I just decided to give Instagram a go because people are there. But also as well, like I speak to people about this all the time. I spoke to a real estate agent who literally sells like multi-million-pound houses through Instagram. And that is wild. But they're doing it through TikTok as well. And it made me realize I need to be everywhere rather than just on LinkedIn.
100%. Did you see Stephen Bartlett's new investment, Stan? Is it called Stan? The creator platform? It's like his biggest investment he's done is like tens of millions. And it's some, I don't know, it's some Asian guy from
I think I saw
America.
that, but I didn't read it.
So it's basically it's like because when you read it, it literally says, put it as your one-liner in your bio. And I was like, how can you invest tens of millions into this and like create a 9-figure platform is like what the end goal is. But basically what it is literally what you said. There's so many people that are bringing their businesses onto TikTok, onto Instagram. And like we all know Linktree is like the thing normally where you go through. This is just a one-liner where you can literally, it's an e-com store within it. It's like basically like a Stripe in one place, but it's like you go onto that and you can just pay straight away. But I watched the video he did recently and it's like this woman, like I can't remember what her actual service was, what she was actually selling, but she made like 1.8 million in the first month.
Yeah.
And it was all from this thing, Stan. I think it's called Stan. I think so. But it's insane.
Do you think that was how easy it was to convert though when you got there? Or was that the platform that was directing the traffic to them?
I'm not sure. I think it's just more, I know from the story that Stephen said, was that I think his girlfriend does like breath workshops.
Right.
And he was like, I remember her spending hours being like, how do I create a WordPress website? Right. How do I like make this the best CRO optimized? All this sort of stuff. This just does all of it for you. So it builds a landing page, it builds like a funnel, it builds like a Shopify store within that. So it's just like a one click. So the idea is that, you know, your neighbor who doesn't have a lot of digital experience can literally just go on and like build this straight away without having to start up a site and then do a bank account. I'm sure you need a bank account, but you know what I mean.
Removes the friction for them to build it, removes the friction.
Exactly.
And then,
That's everything you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty cool.
But Ray, tell us a bit more about you and algorithms. You're doing crazy numbers as well. You're posting these videos where you put the mic up to your thing and then you're freaking zooming yourself all over the screen and you're talking about social search and you're talking about whatnot.
So those are mostly my videos that are going off on LinkedIn. I actually doubled down on LinkedIn at the end of last year and started this year. To be fair, throughout my career, I've tried to post a bit more on LinkedIn. For some context, I used to be a creator on Instagram and I grew like a really big following on Instagram. My Instagram got taken down and that's how I ended up being in the social world. So I came from a creator background. Whilst I was working in this space, I'm building all these accounts for other people. I kind of got to a point where I realized actually like, in order for me to actually grow more in my career, get more clients, more awareness in general, I need to start doing this more for myself. So I started doing it on LinkedIn mostly. And LinkedIn at the time, to be honest, this was a few years ago, not many people were really posting. There's a few people who were doing personal branding stuff. I didn't do anything crazy. I was just posting one post every now and again. And even that small amount of posting changed my career trajectory. I was invited to speak at events. I was invited to work at some of the best brands in the country or work with them. As a result, off the back of that, I would also get opportunities to work with clients. I think my whole freelance business, I've never once reached out actively to a brand to win them as a client. They've always come to me by DM. So I thought, okay, this is working really well. So when I just recently joined my new company, I was like, I need to really double down on this. I really want to double down on personal brand. And that's what I did since the start of the year. And in 1 month in particular, we got over 1 million impressions on my account just off 3 videos. It was insane. Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. And when you look at the like ratio, this is the interesting about LinkedIn. Engagement and likes can actually be quite low. And you look at your impressions, your views, and your DMs of people that are actually coming through. It's insane how many people are actually coming through and converting, and they don't actually have to interact with your video to do that. And that's where I think a lot of people get nervous about posting because they're like, no one's no one's liking my video, or no one's liking my post, when they are watching. But the thing is, with LinkedIn in particular, because your employer follows you, you're putting the best version of yourself. You don't want to be liking things or interacting with things. We're in a different mindset when on that platform, but it doesn't mean we're not in a buying mindset, or we're not in a mindset where we want to work with a certain person, or we want to invite them to speak at your event, or whatever you want them for, whatever service they want, or whatever service they have that you want to buy from them.
Yeah. I think as well, like literally what you said there about don't look at the likes. Like that's one thing that has happened to me so many times. Right. Where you jump on a call with somebody, I'm like it could be a massive company from like New York. Like two weeks ago, I had a big client call on Friday night at like 10 p.m. because it was their New York time. And jump on a call and it's like, oh yeah, I've been seeing a few of your posts. I'm like, not once have I ever seen your name come up on any of my stuff.
Loads, yeah, that's happening loads.
Stephen's working and they've said, yeah, I've watched your stuff for ages, or I've been looking at your stuff and I've no idea who this person is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a trend, not just on LinkedIn as well. Like, because I come, like all three of you are much more organic. Like, I come from the paid media world. Like, everything we've ever done growth-wise for our clients and even for ourselves, running paid ads on Meta or Google. So like we always say, impressions are a vanity metric. It's always about how many calls are booked, right? However, I think going back to what you said, even when I'm scrolling for Instagram for leisure now, a lot of the time I just laugh at something and then send it to my friend. I won't actively like it, because again, the algorithm does push the content. Like, it shows other people what you're liking now, so you are a bit more conscious on kind of what you're interacting with, like commenting on, liking on, and whatnot. So we are much more in a like window shopping state, I think, on social media platforms. And I mean, I started posting on YouTube, and Josh asked me earlier today, like, oh, how's the YouTube going? I was like, oh, I haven't even checked, but not many views. He goes, no, I don't mean about that. I mean, are you staying consistent with it? Because you shouldn't care.
Well, the thing is, the way I look at it, right? Because I asked you that today. I was like, how's the YouTube going? He was like, oh, it's pretty crap, like less than 100 views. And I was like, dude, that's not what you should care about. What you should care about is building a library of high value videos that, let's say these lurker clients, right, that don't engage with your stuff, they click on your YouTube and you've got 100 videos there talking about paid ads and paid funnels and stuff. Then they're like, oh, this guy's put in the hours, the effort, he's got some good names on, because I know you do the podcast. And I think that's way more important to build something like that.
I mean, I had a meeting yesterday with a company that did over £30 million last year that want us to go in as like a growth consultant for them. And he connected with me on LinkedIn and he was like, mate, before you came, I was watching your videos. I really love what you said about how you're explaining Google Ads really well and stuff. And I was like, again, didn't like it. And I was like, and they haven't got loads of views, but he said automatically, it automatically is that extra trust factor. And even like having testimonial videos now, whenever I like, because I'll talk about it in a bit anyway, but most of my like personal branding has been very new. And it's been like through networking and like unspoken personal branding, if that makes sense. So now when I have like, say, Josh, it refers me to someone, I'll be like, oh, hey, Josh referred me, by the way, if you want to check out some testimonial videos for some what we've done before, you can check these 2 or 3 out. And I'll just send them links to testimonial videos. So like, that's how I'm using content for personal branding at the moment. I think it's really powerful because
I think what you mentioned there about the low views, well, the thing that I've always done when I first built my first Instagram account, what I realized was it's actually momentum. That's actually, I think a lot of people think, oh, it's that one video that's going to go viral and that's it, that's going to blow me up. But what they don't realize is actually the momentum of building up to that. Because sometimes you can post a video to, especially on TikTok or Instagram, it's, interest based now, where it'll push you out. And if the right amount of people see it and they push it up to enough audiences, you will gain a lot of traction. But if you can do a consistent amount of videos that do well within a certain cohort, a certain audience you want to target, eventually you're going to get through to them where they will see your face regularly enough. It'll build momentum. And when you have that big moment, that big breakthrough, you'll see higher conversions because they've built a relationship with you over that time. But also that video has more chance of getting more reach and shareability. So when I had those videos that went really well on LinkedIn, what I actually did was I put together a strategy for this. So what I did was most of them were around either around going away on a work holiday was one of them that did really well. Before that, I did a series of posts that led up to that. So it was like, this is me joining this new company. This is what day one looks like. This is who I'm working with. And this is, we're planning on going away. I built up that momentum. So when that video launched, everyone had already been told a story. And I think a lot of people forget that you need all of that before you have that big moment.
It's quality or quantity?
I think quality.
I think it is quality, but I think you need a bit of both. Yeah, so you need consistent enough.
Literally what you said. So James Smith is somebody that I follow a lot on YouTube. I send all his videos towards you guys, but he literally talked exactly what you said. He said that it's so hard to go viral, right? And like people shouldn't be chasing the virality scores.
Yeah.
But if you picture it like literally you, right? You've started and you've posted one video on YouTube, right?
That's like an actual sit down proper video.
So the more you do on that, the way he describes it is like you're building a dam with like high pressure, and it'll finally break that wall when something does hit virality within your niche, that then it just fills up the buckets of the rest of because your views will start going up from all the rest of your videos. And again, I had Nathan Gotch on the podcast recently. So he's got like 118,000 subscribers. He's like an OG within the SEO world. And his YouTube is like very broad SEO, right? So he'll do like top 10 ways to rank on page SEO, right? And he's got a tool. I told you this when you said you were going to do testimonial videos. I was like, YouTube's not the place to sit down and be like, oh, look, this is how we did X, Y, and Z. Because it's not, you're there to be educated. You're not there to be sold to. And the advice Nathan gave me was if he's doing a top 10 ways to rank on page, he'll do like, there's 3 reasons. And then number 4, he's got a SaaS tool the SEO should use. So he's like, oh, use rankability. And then it's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it's like naturally put in there where it's like, you're not being sold to, but you're like, oh, right. Well, if he's using it for that, it's an education source. Okay, let's go look at rankability and then let's sign up to it, which I think is like really, really important.
Yeah, we did that with our clients when running paid campaigns. So like we'll build lead captures for them, and it'll be like 5 tips on how to get the best out of your investments, for example. You're like, 1, save 10% of your income. 2, do this. 3, use a wealth manager. By the way, book a call here. 4, this. Works really, really well. It's all about like, we were talking about it on the walk here. It's like just like
Holding house.
You're running in front. It's like being genuinely being a good person, providing value will eventually find that, and then it's just doing it at scale rather than sitting down and telling one person. You're then recording yourself. It's probably why you did so well, because your videos were you just walking in the park, really, just talking about like, this is what I would do if I was this person having this problem.
It's just, it's the most natural content that does by far the best.
Yeah.
And I think it's because people look at it and I think you're literally just talking to the camera, you're not selling. And I think as well, probably, I mean, a trend that I've seen as well is when I try to do this really polished content, it actually doesn't really convert. And I think because people think it's like an advert almost.
And people are almost used to it now because they've seen it for so many years on YouTube, especially your field. Like people would have done that on YouTube where they sat in front of a, fully really skyscraper in the background, which looks great, but it's like.
It was you that made me ditch it. I was paying a decent amount of money for short form videos to be made, right? With all these cool transitions, noises, everything. And like they look cool on paper. And then I was seeing you were putting in your impressions videos. Anybody else's LinkedIn videos taken off. And I'm like, bro, I was like, mine's not doing anything like that. And I'm spending a pretty decent amount on it. So I was like, yeah, no, you're right. Take away that. And again, similar kind of concept. So I originally had a podcast, Diary of an SEO, way back. And it was like interviewing a load of like global head of SEO at Amazon, Binance Sage, all of this. I was with my ex-business partner and we were talking like deep SEO stuff, right? I'm like, I don't do SEO. I build SEO teams, right? Yes, like you need to know a certain amount, but like put me actually to do SEO, having a clue, right? And for ages, I wanted to switch more to like, why don't we interview like agency owners, talk about client acquisition, expensive mistakes, retention, hiring, staff retention, all this stuff, cash flow problems, which we've done with like the Agency Growth Club. And like, I hope like I get a lot of comments back that I'm a lot more authentic on these videos because I genuinely have fun doing this. I've told you guys so many times, I come off this podcast buzzing because it's like, one, it's like free mentorship for me. I get to sit down with these like guys that are absolutely killing it, talk about like their expensive mistakes and stuff, so that like, one, I don't do it, but like the audience that are listening don't do it as well. And it's like, it's just so much more of an authentic way to go. And then in terms of client acquisition, it turns out that that's our biggest client acquisition channel right now. If you told us a year ago, what's our biggest bottleneck? It was having a consistent pipeline. It was like 1 month we could have 10 leads, then we could have 15, then we could have 5, then we could have 0, then we could have 3. Like it was just all over the place. Whereas now I know from January, interviewing these people, building a relationship with them on the actual call, my team build them into the actual podcast into like 20 shorts, put them on the blog, put them into visual assets. We send that to them. It's just all about building that relationship. And then they turn around and they're like, oh, just tell me a bit more about what you do. I tell them it's not like a 20-minute pitch. It's like, oh, this is what we do. Oh yeah, we could do with your service, and like they test us out, and then like it's just been like a waterfall within them.
And I love how you said that that's now your biggest growth, acquisition channel, because what's your most viewed video at the moment?
That's 7.2K.
Yeah, 7,200 views,
Yeah.
which in the grand schemes, if you look at big creators and everyone who thinks going viral, they're like millions of views, but you're making so much money and targeting the right people, building your business, growing the right people, targeting them without hitting that many views, really, in the grand scheme of
That was
things.
our biggest views. Our
Yeah.
average is like less than 1,000.
Yeah,
just over
but it's still converting the right people. Which
I'm
is,
so glad you've touched on that, because I think that's the thing that people miss. I think everyone gets so obsessed with having
the
so many
vanity
views.
metric. Yeah,
But
yeah.
honestly, like, I mean, especially for me, I think there's only certain people that realistically I'm going to work with.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that, like, I can help them, but they're not really the demographic that I want to work with or that I'm going to benefit the most. So I think what's way more important is getting the right people. And often it's thinking about content that converts those kind of individuals rather than just trying to blow up a ton of views. Because to be honest, like, I mean, that month that I got like 60 leads, a lot of them weren't actually great, but it was great to have. It was a good experience. But I mean, I did convert a lot of those individuals, which is great, and they've come on as clients, which is fantastic.
But it's like something that you said, and something that you just said a minute ago, where you said that when you switch to creating content, is like, I think was it the 60% pay gap video you did or something? That's it, yeah. And you said to me that you really enjoyed making that type of content. The same as you, when you're interviewing these people, you really enjoy it. And I read something recently where it's like, everyone talks about having loads of pillars. When you do a personal brand, you have 3 pillars, which is a great starting point. But you should really look at it as you're the niche. So really double down on what your audience cares about, but what you also love. I think it's that chart that goes into, like what you like, what you don't like, whatever it is. I can't remember how it goes. But yeah, the idea is that you are making content that you like, but it also goes into exactly what your ICP would enjoy. And because you're speaking, you're like talking about it so passionately, they can feel that energy and they're like, I trust this person more. It's more like if you sit down with someone who really likes their job and they're a salesperson, they really buy into the company they're working for, you're more likely to buy from them because that person's going to be able to tell you, oh, I actually really like this. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I genuinely really like this product. It's the same way you're conveying that message and communicating that across, which is really difficult to do. It's really hard to communicate passion on camera. But if you can talk about something that you already enjoy, link it into work, it makes it a bit easier. And then your viewers are like, this person's telling the truth.
Yeah, I think for me as well, I think when I actually discuss things that I'm talking about every day as well, it's just such an easy video to make.
Exactly.
Just because I actually know it inside out. It's something I deal with constantly. So I use that as almost inspiration. Just think about the problems that I've dealt with probably that week. It's like
such a good way.
It's a really good idea for content.
That's interesting. Like, do you have any frameworks any of you guys follow where it's like, because I know all 3 of you watching your content is always very relevant. So like, and again, I've been trying to implement like more real life stories. Like I did a post about bank holiday Monday yesterday, which was the Tuesday after, and that was like a really good post. But all it was just like telling people about my personal life and how much I like what I do. So that's kind of shows a passion across like things like that. But is there any? Because what I've been trying to do is like make notes of, like you said, things that have happened or problems I've seen. But I just feel like it's always useful to follow some sort of framework or system.
I think for me anyway with that is I feel like I'm pretty lucky. I've never struggled with content. I do have like an ideation folder where, because like again, I'll like think of, oh, that could be a cool post and I'll put it in there. So I am ever struggling. I've got that. I've got the like Monday to Friday. Okay, I should be posting about this, like top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel. But one thing I've noticed as well on LinkedIn, and I know everybody goes on about it. So LinkedIn, apart from YouTube recently, but before that, LinkedIn was our biggest channel for bringing in clients and candidates, of course. So like 90+% of our business would have been on LinkedIn. And you have a lot of people right now saying like LinkedIn isn't Facebook, right? And you post selfies with everything, right? But like people give off about that, but it's funny, like literally if you storytell on LinkedIn, especially today, because there's so much AI crap out there, if you storytell and like just be a bit different and like be a bit more personal, like my impressions go through the roof. I'll have more people DM me. And again, similar to what you said earlier, the algorithm favors people. So if you DM somebody or you have a conversation with them, I think it's like the algorithm pushes your content for like 3 weeks to somebody.
If someone DMs you based off your content.
Yeah, so I watched a great podcast. It was is that one I love that I told you about, Marketing Against the Grain. The CMO of HubSpot hosts it. And have you ever listened to that?
I've not. No.
It's phenomenal. It's where I get most of my AI stuff. Like you say that I know a load about AI. That's where I get most of my stuff, and then just like tell you guys. He had a girl who she owned a company called Yap Media, I think, New York based. They're LinkedIn strategists, right? And she went through. I basically took that, put it in a notebook LLM, right, and gave me like the top 10 like pillars from it. But that was one thing that. So if you use her service for like ghostwriting, she's got like a VA that is in her profile all day, every day. So if you like one of her posts, the VA DMs them straight away. And actually, I ended with a CTA off that something. So, hey, so you engaged with X, Y, and Z. This is whatever. I don't know about you guys. I do not have time to do that. But her whole idea behind it is that the algorithm pushes that out of everything. And she's got like a point system as well. So she was like, a like equals this amount of points, a comment equals this, a repost is this. But the biggest one was if somebody reposts it with their own thoughts and if somebody DMs you on the back of it is like the biggest thing it pushes.
Could you not automate that using like a ManyChat or a Dripify or something like that?
I know LinkedIn hates it.
LinkedIn hates it. And I don't know how it knows. Like I've tried so many, like had so many like different various accounts where I've tried it on, and I just never know how it's able to pick up the Dripify's sending that message or sending that message. Is really good at it.
A friend of mine had his LinkedIn banned for no reason the other day, and a big part of his, like, you know, you say 90% of your business. It was probably about 90% of his business, and he said he was like, lesson learned, never build on borrowed land, basically, which is also a good reason why having like an omni-channel presence is so important. One protection, but also like, although I talk about sales funnels, I don't think there's such a thing really as like a pure funnel anymore. It's more like a network. Like everyone's everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So it's why it's so important for brands or people to be able to face
as many people as possible. And it's like, for example, like the real estate agent that I know, like they're selling multi-million houses through TikTok.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like before I sat down and had that conversation with that person, I had no interest in being on TikTok.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, right, yeah. I need to be
like it's time.
It might not be my highest converting platform, but I need to have some kind of presence on there.
So we actually like to visualize this, and whenever I explain this kind of like multi-platform journey, I do it with search, because a lot of people think that you just search on Google. A lot of people just go to Google to search. But let's take energy. So we work with one of the biggest energy drinks in the world, and they have a problem where they want to be seen for, let's say, best energy drink for workouts. And when you actually look into the search data for that, you'd think people just go to Google, or maybe they'll go search on YouTube. But what we actually found is they start their search journey on TikTok, where they'll go and search something like, I'm feeling tired after a workout, or like, why can't I beat my personal best, or something like that, where they need a bit more energy. Then they'll go to Reddit and go, what's the best energy drink for blah, blah, blah. Then they'll pick 2 energy drinks, say Monster or Celsius, and they go Monster versus Celsius, what's actually better for the gym? Search that on YouTube. And then they'll finally go, you know, Monster near me, or whatever brand they decide to buy. What's really interesting about that is across so many different touch points. And what's cool is if you've created content across all those touch points to influence them, you've kind of won that. And that's on a commercial product-led search journey, but you can do that like for your brand in particular. You could produce content around, if you go start from your audience and you start from what is the main things that people come to me for. Okay, they're ballers, they've had an exit from a company, they've got 20 million that they need to invest. I'm assuming that's around what they would usually do. Okay, cool. What's the first thing they would search? I don't know, they might search what's the nicest car to buy, what's a really cool entry point that they come in. You can enter at that point and then work out where they go down that. And we almost call that like audience mapping. So you would go by one pain point, that's that one audience, and then that's all the content you create. It helps you almost create pillars for each different audience traction that they go down. So they might start there, finish at this point where they've gone, okay, actually I need a wealth manager to help me manage 5 million and invest my kids' funds for the rest of their lives or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be so interesting to see whether it's not the car bit, but like, what do I do with all my money? What is showing up for stuff like that? Because there is people that search that.
But that is often a thing. Like that's literally what people come to me and say. Like I've I mean, I'm in a very fortunate position. I've made all this money from X. What do I do with it?
Yeah.
Like, what's the smartest thing to do with it? Because I have absolutely no idea.
I remember you when I took video, yeah.
I did a LinkedIn post that was quite similar, and it actually did quite.
Oh, you did. You did. If I had $1 million, what was it?
Liquids.
Cash. This is what I do. I like that post.
Yeah.
To come back to what you just said, Ray, do you think the content has to be different across all the platforms? Because the way I see it is like when I do a video, I'll just repost on every single platform, and I don't see it doing the best in.
A lot of people do, and I know why they do it, and I know why, like, because it's time, right? You want to save as much time as possible, and I think that at the start you should really hone down on one platform specifically, and make that your key platform where you're doing a lot. And I always say, and I think I said this to you guys before, is have like a place where you can do burner content almost, like where it's that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So like let's say Instagram is your main platform, and you've got, or you're doing your long form content, your short form content, everything goes on there. It's driving your leads, everything. But this content, it's getting like 700,000 views or whatever you got on that video. Okay, cool. That's actually done really well. Let me now distribute that one onto YouTube. The only thing is, with YouTube, eventually you're going to need a different strategy, because the type of content that's working on Instagram isn't always going to work on YouTube, because people might want a different bio mode. Like you already know this from paid, right? So, but they might be in a different mindset altogether of what type of content. They might want to be educated on LinkedIn, entertained on Instagram. They might want to be educated on YouTube. So you do need a different strategy, but especially as like a personal brand creator, distribution can work, but don't try and just distribute everything. Maybe stick to your best performing posts and do, I don't know, a different type of style that follows up, that goes specifically onto YouTube.
Would you know one good example I have from that, and it came from Ross Simmons that you said you met at SEO Week in New York. So he's got a book. He was on the podcast called Create Once, Distribute Forever.
Oh yeah.
And his whole thing was, right, he went, if you go back and watch the podcast, he went on for 5 minutes. He was like, right, create this one piece and then turn it into this and then turn it into this. And I don't even think he had a breath the whole way through. He just kept on going and kept on going. But like, that's what we do. We bring somebody on for a full form podcast, which is 30 to 45 minutes, right? It then gets put into a blog. That blog then gets into like probably 20 posts over not just my own LinkedIn, but the teams, the companies as well. We've got visual assets. We then put them onto shorts. Like I posted every day on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Twitter. I put a few up on Instagram. Facebook's just the one that we just don't do anything on. But again, like, and then one thing we did recently as well, Canva have an AI tool that you can basically put like as much as you want into one document and create it to basically duplicate it. So basically what we did is I wanted like quotes of people that chatted on my Agency Growth Club. So you've got like the quote, who said it, and then like just a picture of like my YouTube underneath it. And it, like you just put it in.
They work well.
Oh dude, you put it in once and it made, I think like 130 of them. So I've got them sitting there. I'm just not distributing them, right? I did it for a while and they did really well. And what I do is I would post it. So let's say for instance, Nick Eubanks, right? Good friend of mine and has like a big following. I kind of ego bait it. So I'd like post it and be like, it'd be a great quote from Nick. And I'd be like, well, this is my own take on it. And then at Nick said this is what we talked about in the podcast. And then he'd comment on it and then he'd share it on LinkedIn. And then he also retweeted it on Twitter. And it's like, it just keeps on going.
Yeah, nice. It's really interesting.
Have you got any frameworks, Kat?
Well, again, like I said, I've only recently started to create organic content, and it's quite sporadic, to be completely honest. Like, because I'm in that growth stage at the moment. Like, I was a glorified freelancer really until the start of this year, so the last 6 months. Then I made my first full-time hire using paid media jobs, which hello, used to be fantastic. So really good job there. And I brought on a second full-time hire about a month ago now. So really, I've been really knees deep in that operation. So I'm trying to make content as and when I can. I'm doing that typical thing where it's like, kind of, I know I should do it, but I'm not doing it. Yeah. But for me, like I said, put all my eggs in what I knew worked. And by that, I mean, I was looking at all these results I was getting for clients. Like, one of our clients were getting about 5 to 10 leads a month. We built a funnel for them, worked with them for a month, and then building out all the strategy and all the content and whatnot. Then we started running ads for them. And we actually did a review today, weirdly. And since end of February, so about 4 and a bit months, generated them almost 800 leads through paid, purely paid, and all the funnel building that we did. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this for other clients, maybe I do this myself. So I recorded some really engaging, like Alex Hormozy style videos, launched them as paid ads, and I was getting booked calls for like £30 a book call, which, so I spent about £1,500, I think, in about 30-day period. Got 42 book calls booked from that. And I was just literally like, okay, cool. Kind of filled myself up till something broke, which was operations for me. Took that step back, paused that, and focused on building so that I can restart again. But when you said at the start about how you posted some videos and got 60 book calls for free, like you got them for free. So it's like, I always say to my own clients, like, this is something that will be turned on and could be scaled up or down as and when you please. You can come and tell me you've got an open day in a month, or you've got a viewing that's brand new that you really need to promote. However, you still need to be a good business with good content on your page, because I know for a fact the first thing that people did after they saw my ad was they clicked on my ad and they looked at my profile. And I know that because every single call said, I really like your content, I really like your video styles. And they will also comment on the landing page, and I was literally like to them, well, you've gone through the funnel, you know what we can do, we'll just do the same thing for you. And I'll be open with them and tell the numbers. So yes, on that is, but I actually did pay for some LinkedIn consulting a while back that I kind of kept on a back burner. But it's really like, again, having key pillars. It was like sharing what you know and what you do, teaching people how to do it, and then asking them for something. So it's almost like that jab, jab, hook, Gary Vaynerchuk thing, where it's like, but then it's like give. It's like Hormozy, just give, give, and then ask. And that is kind of like is like the premise of everything we're just saying. I just think, like, obviously we're talking about it from an organic perspective. I think everything we're saying can be just, that is the framework, in my opinion. That is like the core principle of everything that you need to be doing. And I think that's the case in your business as well. Because like also I've grown entirely for the last year and a half through referral until the last 2 months. Because like, literally the amount of times someone will ask me to do something, I'll be like, yeah, we'll just do it. And they're like, well, how much? That's don't worry, we'll deal with it. Or like, and it's something that does take time and obviously money, and a lot of other agencies will charge for that or whatever. But I just did it to build that goodwill. And it's something I learned from my dad, because my dad's got a building company, and like I'd be with him and he'd be on the site and someone would ask for something like a new door or this or that, and it's not in the scope of work, and he'd just do it. But then that would lead to them calling him back 3 months later. We want an extension now, or next door really loved the work and we referred you straight away. And it's exactly kind of how, that wasn't intentional, to be honest. It's just from what I know and what I've seen work. But again, I from listening to you guys now, I'm thinking, how can I repackage that up and how can I build a series that's like, this is what we're doing. And off that, sorry, I'm talking a lot, but off that, it made me think like, how can I give, and then ask? So I've taken the time to build something that I took from James Smith as well, that we kind of spoke about. And it's 30 tips in 30 days, work in progress, but 30 tips in 30 days to add 30 leads to your business. And I've literally written, I'm 12 out of 30 right now, but long emails that are literally like, if I was to build a sales funnel from scratch, this is the first thing I'd do. This is the second thing I'd do. This is the third thing I'd do. And I'd do it. I'd show them how I would do it and then sell the implementation. And then I'm going to run ads to that for lead capture. And that's going to be the basis of all my content for the next few months. It's like, so guys, this is obviously good stuff. If you want more, just, check out this. And then I'm hoping that in like 6 months' time, we have the same conversation. I've got at least a couple hundred, maybe a few thousand people sitting there. That can then be more.
You described that really politely, because the way James Smith describes it is right. It's like, if you bring a girl out on the first date and you try to bring her upstairs, right? She could be like, right, this guy's not full of class. Bring her on 30 dates, right? And by 30 dates, you're like, do you want to come in for some tea? Right? It's a completely different conversation. And that's literally what that is. Instead of selling like upfront. And like, it's one thing I did early in my career. I did a lot of LinkedIn outreach, right? And like, we don't do any outreach anymore, like at all. Everything's like trying to build everything inbound, because 1, it's an easier sales process. 2, it's more fun. And 3, I just don't like outreach. Like
I don't think it works. And also I think as well,
Tired of it.
I don't think anyone really likes it. And also as well, I think the quality's not there. If you do that, like it's,
I think it does work still. I think it's the way it was going though, and I think it's the way it's done.
That's the game I don't want to play.
And if you
But I agree. I'm not saying it's fun.
if you can automate it at scale to a degree, and I think that if you're doing a lot of the organic stuff and the inbound stuff alongside that, your conversion rates are incredible. Like, people really trust your brand. They buy into you. It's easier to do it. It's not just like it's not really cold outreach at that moment. It's actually they know who you are and you just message them.
Another little ball, I think.
But again, how much better would it be? I'm just thinking from my own perspective, right? When I used to do outreach, it was like, oh, by the way, this is what we did. This was the result we did. This is the brands that we work with. P.S. We offer this as like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
How, like, now what we do, I guess it's a form of outreach, is if we have like a big webinar coming up or a big podcast guest or a new thing that we're launching that like benefits the person. It's like, oh, by the way, you should like come check this out. It was built for X, Y, and Z. Let us know what you think. And like the reply rate on that one is like, oh, awesome, I'll check that out. And like it's just such a nicer way in.
No, I agree. It's nicer. I'm just saying, to play devil advocate, it definitely does still. It definitely does still work. It's just, I agree. Like, I think it's done very poorly though, and I do think that's because of the rise of.
Probably quite a good point, actually.
Yeah, I think it's the rise of cold outbound.
I worked with a cold outbound agency that literally we spent, I don't know, a good 8 hours with them. Massive call day with them. They asked us everything about our audience, everything about proposition, branding, everything. They went to then go do the outreach, and they literally did. It's like they didn't even know our audience at all. They didn't take any of that into consideration. They were just, going to people and saying, sorry for messaging you, but would you be interested? Like, it was the worst thing ever. And I think a lot of people, especially within that world, they don't get that you actually have to build up a really good sales funnel. Not like you can't just. It's not just messaging. Like, I see it on Instagram all the time. The amount of influencers that go out and say, just message 1,000 people a day.
Yeah.
Dude, it's I've been burned by 2 email companies. You know this, right? Because I go on about it all the time, right? There was one we were paying 7.8K a month, right? For like 3 months, right? And then there was another one, and it was lower. I think it was 3K a month, but it was performance based, right? Because I was never going to sign with them again, with that kind of company. I was like, right, look, from a business plan, right? If I tell you I'm going to get you X result, if I can't do that, I'll give you all your money back, right? Like, that should be the normal, right?
Yeah.
So I did this the same with that one, and they weren't able to get us something, and they did give us our money back, which is fair. But like the first company, again, we spent hours sitting down, brand position. This is what we do. This is what we do, right? And like we'd like ask for updates all the time. Anybody? Have we got anybody booked in? Have we got anybody? Right? And after like 2 months, we got like 1 lead, right? And the lead wasn't a lead. Right, it was, oh, we've chatted to like, oh, we got a reply from like the COO of eBay, right? And they're like jumping about of it, and I'm like, hold on, the COO of eBay is not going to be in charge of hiring for the SEO team. I was like, this is like the most irrelevant thing ever.
Still pretty cool though.
Oh, I was like, yeah, but I'll jump on the call. Yeah, but like the reply wasn't even positive. Well, it wasn't not positive, but it was like, oh, this is interesting. Can you send more information on? And then nothing came about of it. And yeah, it's just crazy. It's a wild, wild west out there with outreach, cold outreach.
That is the thing as well. I don't know if it about you guys, but the more I'm in marketing, the more I learn marketing, the more I see things, I'm like, that is clearly. But maybe it's because we're a more sophisticated audience in that sense.
Yeah.
But then all 4 of us at the same time are after sophisticated audiences. Like, we're all after businesses or owners of businesses that are doing multiple millions of pounds in one form or another. But yeah,
It's not a huge pool to target. Yeah.
Do you know what was a great example? I think I shared it with you guys. Was you know Cody Sanchez?
yeah,
This is the girl that does like finance belt stuff in the US, right?
Yeah.
Love her stuff. But I followed her recently on Instagram, and this was the reason I followed her actually, was one of the videos was like, oh, I've listened to 100 podcasts on wealth and finance. She's like, half of them are crap, half of them don't actually know what they're talking about. Half of them are crap, 40% like don't really know what they're talking about, but 10% are good. I'm going to give you the top 10, right? And it was like that, and it was like, comment under and I'll send you the list. So I commented under, then the next thing it was a lead capture, then I got sent to the thing. But I was like, I wanted those podcasts, right? I was like, oh, these are I don't have to spend that. And like, luckily I was like, oh, kind of listen to every one of these, right? But they were like really, really good ones that I was like, okay, I'm going to go revisit, like Naval Ravikant on like Joe Rogan and stuff. But like, it was a great list, and I'm still in her her email nurture sequences, and every one of them is a banger, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even know what she offers. I don't know what she wants from me, but like I really enjoy her stuff.
She's just jabbing you so bad right now. She's gonna ask you. Yeah, that kind of goes back to how bad cold outbound is, because the amount of those that I've commented on and I've just not received anything. It's like,
Now they're going on your profile like, nah.
not too young. Yeah, he doesn't need it. No, but it's interesting because she's building so much rapport with you now that if she does drop something, that is.
And I think it's funny as well. So one thing I've told you guys at the minute I've built is, so I've been using Gemini 2.5. But what I've been trying to do is build a knowledge base of like all the data from my company, right? What the team do, what our BHAGs are, our big, hairy, audacious goals. Like everything that I can put into one document. And I've been using Gemini and ChatGPT 03 to be fair to like, I'm giving it the information and it's just stacking it on, and like I'm giving it my YouTube channel, it's giving me back the information. So I put it into a knowledge base, right? That I've downloaded as a PDF and I built it out properly today. But I already had a custom GPT business consultant that I kind of did this on, but I told you guys, I think Gemini is like just 100 times better than ChatGPT right now. And I put it in, and today while we were at that cafe, and I was like putting in, I can't remember what it was. It was like, right, if you had to hit our revenue target by 2 months early by the end of this year, what would you do, right? And it built me out a few great examples. But a lot of the advice was basically for me to stop being the face of the company, right? Because scalable companies don't have faces on it, right? And I personally strongly disagree with that, right? And it's interesting that like that is the advice you would get from the corporate world, and that's the advice that Gemini's giving you on that. But like, I don't know about you guys, especially with AI mode coming out on Google, last week, I feel like the ability to be seen having an omnipresence, like we just said, and having a face and having all of that only adds value to your company. I don't think the founder-led thing. And for me personally, like my goal is to, I'm in a fortunate position right now where the operations and the delivery of my team are like fantastic, next to none, right? We're getting results. I'd love to just focus on like content for like a good few months and just build that to like the highest amount of value as I can, right? And then getting a flow of it. Because I feel like as well, with content, there's so many people that are jumping on the bandwagon and doing it.
It's very saturated.
So it's like, it's a low barrier to entry, right? Which is why I love it, which is why I love organic content, because anyone can go and do it. But it also means that it is hyper competitive.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you see the stuff on LinkedIn, and it's like a really like old digital marketing agency has like forced their marketing girl to get on, and like she's shaking on the thing, and you're like,
Say about it, it's low barrier to entry, but it's people don't stick around.
People don't.
And it's a marathon, not a sprint, isn't it? Like, so I think just let them come. Like, time will tell who's good and who's not. I think.
We'll see who's here and there.
that's why I think it's so good for you being 24, having an agency, right? I've watched you firsthand get really busy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, get that on video, get that on video. And like being able to keep up both of them. Because again, Darius, my recruiter, like he has got so much knowledge on the candidate side of stuff, right? He's in the trenches chatting to these guys, what's going on, like all of this stuff. I'm like, dude, take as much of that as you can and fucking build a personal brand. And he does do a good job at it. But like he said it to me the other week, he was like, yeah, no, you're right, but we're just so busy right now, it just takes second place. I'm like, dude, I get it. But like if you build the right machine, right, using your custom GPTs, using your Geminis or your Gems or whatever it's called on that, like you can get it like that and just put it out there.
And that's why I think you need a balance of passion and that machine, because if you're really interested in that subject, when something happens, like for marketing, in the marketing world, if something happens with TikTok, I want to go speak about it, because I'll be speaking about it to my girlfriend who has no idea what's going on and she hates it. Telling her about TikTok's algorithm update, but I'm there like, okay, if she's not going to listen, I'll go tell LinkedIn, or I'll go tell TikTok, and everyone else will listen. And that's the thing, you need that passion, but you also need, like you said, that process in place that makes the friction low for you. For example, if we
So goes.
yeah, we used to work at, there's an agency that I used to work with where basically they had an issue where they wanted to do personal branding stuff, but they just didn't, the people wanted to post it, they didn't have time. So they implemented the system of having a writers with pre-ChatGPT days of just going out and just writing their content for them and posting it on their LinkedIn. And I think that's another thing to also consider as well. Like you need to either build in that time or hire someone. And it's like when you were talking about distribution earlier, I really love distribution and I think that it works really well. But when it comes to personal branding, it's really hard to distribute all this content out on your own because you've got a team. You can go out and you can go, guys, go and distribute all these 50 pieces of content, edit it, make it look nice, go post it for me. But we might not have a whole team. It's just us creating the content for ourselves, right? So posting that out is, it's a lot more difficult when you're doing it as an individual. So you have to think of it as passion, easy process, what can I do consistently? And then also discipline, like discipline with content is so key. It's like, I think Gary Vee says it quite a lot. It's like going to the gym, right? You go to the gym once, you won't see a difference, but you have to keep turning up. And you got to think of it as like, you can have like 30 bad workouts a year. That's amazing. Trying to hit those 30 bad workouts. And it's the same way with content. Have 30 bad days where you don't want to post a content, or you don't think, I've got no inspiration, or I don't know what to post about. I don't think this post is going to bang. Post anyway. That's one of your 30 TikTok. And you've got to get into that discipline flow. Because if you don't have that, someone else will, and they'll own that.
We're going to have to crop that in a short video. That's fantastic. It was really, really good.
Also, where was that when I asked for framework? Here, hold up, this framework, just post. I agree.
Right, last topic. Let's do this to be selfish with each other and also keep each other accountable, right?
Yeah.
So we can look back at this in 1, 2, 10, 15 years. Joe, first, what is your big... we don't even have to do big, hairy, audacious goal.
No,
right? We don't have to do
no,
that.
I
What's
think
just one big goal that you've got for the next year that you want to hit?
The next year?
Yeah.
It's tough. I think, I mean, end goal for me is Spears 500. So
What's that?
exactly, yeah. So for anyone that's not familiar with wealth, private wealth in particular, no place to have, so you no idea. Basically, it's essentially it's the top 500 ranked high net worth advisors in like the world. It's if you're in that, if you're ranked in that, you are essentially the Champions League of financial advisors.
Right.
Well, that's a silly question, but like, are you? Is it 50,000 or you one?
It's not. So it's more of a. It's not necessarily a ranking. It's more you're just essentially a feature. In the list. So it's not something. There's no like world ranking for financial advisors or anything like that. But I've actually got a mentor that's in it, so I've learned a ton from him.
Yeah.
And every time I go for like a coffee with him, he just drops like a absolute bomb, and I'm like, wow, like I'm gonna, well, it's not even necessarily content, more just like I'm gonna use that like in my day to day. That's a long term thing for me. So it would be really hard to get into that in a year. Very, very difficult. But I think go for it. I mean, I'm starting to bring in some really big clients, hedge fund guys. So I'm operating in that space. I just need to do more of what I'm doing because I'm definitely operating around the right clients to be featured in that.
On that list, yeah.
100%.
So what do you have to so do they pick you? Like how do you?
It's something that they will pick essentially. They will pick you to be in it.
See it. She's on Joe on the front.
Yeah, I see you there. Yeah. But number one, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a personal branding, because that's going to be an unfair advantage in 5 years when you've
Well, advice financial advisors are starting to do all the social content now, and I've been doing this for like 3-4 years now. And already I've seen like it's really pushed me out there.
Yeah.
I've been featured in the Financial Times. I've had City AM. I get asked to do various pieces like quite frequently. It happens quite a lot. And I think as well, what I've done is I've not necessarily just built up a massive following, but I think I've built up a lot of credibility through doing it. But it's quite funny because when I first started doing it, I used to sit in my office in the city, and there was like, so the office that I used to work in was a big open floor office. And I remember once listening to someone, a business behind, like literally reading out some of my LinkedIn content. And this was when it wasn't cool to do LinkedIn. And I remember listening. No, it was
Yeah, I don't know if it's cool to do LinkedIn at the moment.
But yeah, like I was. So I was listening to these guys, like literally, essentially mock my whole LinkedIn stuff I was doing, and it's funny because it's like the same people now that literally run. No, they run my stuff through chat and repost it.
No, that's fine. It's always the way though, isn't it?
It's crazy though, because like I purposely have to tell clients not to follow my Instagram because people go through my Instagram, they go through my LinkedIn, and obviously some people are slightly more high profile. And I don't want people to know that I'm working with them or even like engaging with them. So I'll purposely tell them do not follow my Instagram because people will find you and reach out to you because that's what a lot of advisors do. But
Crazy that they're doing that.
yeah. But
It shows that
I'm doing something.
you're doing the right thing. We're leaving the industry as a result.
Awesome. But I can see you on SPR 500.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
100%. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Kai, what's yours?
Mine is to systemize and productize things a bit more inside the agency. And the reason for that is because kind of what you're saying, how you've built things. My plan is to build like a commercially profitable enterprise rather than a profitable job for myself. Otherwise, I would have just got a job out of uni rather than started this. And off the back of that, I want to grow into mainly the US, to be fair, which is a big part of my next phase, but look at making smart acquisitions into companies that fold into what I'm doing and also add a layer of software into what I'm doing, which I've got some plans for, but I'll keep that to myself for now. But essentially I want to build well, I'll tell you guys, but my plan is to build an ecosystem of businesses or a master business that all works together, that continues to generate fantastic results for clients and delights our clients essentially, so they keep telling people about us from business. That folds into that. I need to become more consistent on content. I actually want to build a content arm of the business. And what that means is what I just said about systemizing, also blocking out a day every fortnight, for example, to just film a load of content and then delegate that to the people that are better at it than I am. So I've kind of done that a bit now. Like I've spent a lot of money on editing, like you mentioned earlier right now, but I'm very happy with them. And I've got someone who works in the business, scheduling and things like that. But I feel like I've done very much like a gun-ho approach right now. So definitely look at maybe talking to you guys as well, seeing what's worked for you guys and see how I can take those nuggets and implement that into myself.
I think the structure, so important. So I think you'll have more clarity and you will get way more done.
Yeah, I feel like what we said earlier today, we were saying how like when we both started, you say yes to everything. And like when you go to the gym, you just try to do everything, but you always like progress the most when you strip everything back down and just like what is actually giving you the results. What do you focus your time and energy on? So myself, like I have to wear a million different hats every single day. So since I've had the two, like Helen and Mirad join full-time, fantastic people, like they've really helped. They can wear the paid media hat and the web development hat, while I can then I've been able to wear the operations and growth hat, which is where I think my skill set is best utilized anyway. So that answers that.
Awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you guys probably don't know this actually, but I told Josh when I met him last year. So I actually took a step back from business last year. So last year I'd got to a point where I was running quite a successful business on the side, and it reached a point where financially it was in a great place, but it got me to a point where I was physically and mentally burnt out. So this year I wanted to really double down and focus on health and wellness, and I've hit my goal for that. So I've lost 15 kg so far. Thanks, Gareth. To Becca. So we've been on that kind of health journey right now, and now I've built the systems to be able to consistently keep that up. And now I want to go into, there's 3 different things that I really want to achieve. And the first thing is going down, becoming one of the go-to people in the industry for organic marketing. When you think of organic marketing, when you think of social, when you think of search, when you think of them coming together, PR, all these things, I want to be that person that comes up. And I'm going to do that by a personal brand across Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Those will be my 3 platforms I want to just take over with content. So the first step is like content, consistent content across those. The second thing is to write this book. So right now I'm writing this book around brand visibility. I haven't actually got to a title yet of what it's going to be, but that's the second thing that I want to work on and make that. I want that to be out by next year. And then third and final thing is to actually create a third stream of income as being a creator. So while I'm creating this marketing content and I've got, work, I've got my business on the side that's doing well still. I want to create a third stream of income that's purely from personal brand, because I've had that before when I had my Instagram, and I feel like now I understand. Back then, I didn't really understand, oh, this is what a brand deal is. I was just saying, oh yeah, I'll take whatever to post you guys on my Instagram, whatever, I'll put you in a YouTube video. Now I understand how the industry works, and I'm like, okay, I want to create a really powerful personal brand across these social profiles, where then I can go, actually, this is how much I want for this, and I want a long-term partnership with this brand, and that's like my third goal within that. So yeah, those three there. And the reason I picked them as well is because they almost interconnect. It's like, it's all across marketing. It allows me to then, once I've got to the end of the 12 months or 16 months that this is all running for, I can go, well, do I want to start a business? Do I want to travel the world? Do I want to do, it gives me a nice base to play from, but I've got to put in that grind and get there first.
I love that all three of them feed each other as well. Like the book will increase your personal brand. The personal brand will increase the sales of the book. Both of them will make you an authority, which make people want to work with you and your other business, like, or sponsor you or whatnot.
Yeah.
I think already though, you're a massive authority in your space.
Just about to say, I was using it just say, boy, I only tick for me. You're the organic guy. Yeah, you all I do.
Because I know people that, I mean, I think we've had this conversation before, but like, I know people that like, I thought just knew you through one way or another, and it turns out they've just followed your content for so long. But yeah, it's really interesting to see what you're doing. Like, you're absolutely smashing it. I've no doubt you're gonna crush that.
Yeah. Got to put them reps in, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you, Josh? Yeah, what's the plan?
Well, my big, hairy, audacious goal is, I've got two. So one of them is, I mean, I've been wetting everybody's ear about this for the last week with you guys. But basically, recently what we did, so SEO for Hire is what, about 3.5 years old right now. Dimitri, who's now my co-founder at Paid Media Jobs, he chatted to me last January. I don't know if you see my LinkedIn post today, but I found the message where he reached out to me. So he reached out to me in January and was like, hey Josh, I want to build a recruitment company in the paid media space. Would love to pay for some of your time. Regards, Dimitri, right? And back then that was like so strange to me. I was like, I'm not paying, like I'm not charging somebody for my time. Anyway, we jumped on a call, did a few things, and then we ended up doing a 3-month consultancy. And then over the year, I actually realized like how much of a hard worker he is, how much experience and like knowledge he has in the paid media space, because he's got like 8 years experience in paid media. Anyway, that company's 5 months old, and we did 75K a month. That's 75K this month, right? Wow. Which is like yeah, that's nuts, right? Like nuts. And again, the reason we were able to do that was because we had the team, the resources, the experience, the brand, the SEO for Hire, the client base, that we were able to kind of replicate that and put it in there. We've already got the trust signals with those clients. They were able to trust Paid Media Jobs straight away. Yeah, that's just been like insane. So we've got like where we are now within 5 months. I expected us to be like 2 years down the line. Like it's nuts. What I'd love to do by the end of the year is do a similar concept, but with like an AI talent division. So basically finding either someone or a small company who is extremely passionate about AI and an absolute G at what they do, and either invest in them or kind of like do the same things that we've done with Paid Media Jobs, and basically build that out to, again, using our brand, the capital and the expertise that we have at now 2 companies, having that playbook and being able to do the same in the AI and talent division. So again, let's say one of our clients wants to bring in, you know, somebody on a monthly basis to build our AI workflows, just make the team more efficient or whatever it is, that they'd be able to, again, trust us, use that. We'd be able to find somebody, put them into that business, you know, for 1 month, 6 months, whatever it is. I don't think it'd be full-time work. That's just, it might be a limiting belief for me. But then again, like with the paid media clients, you know, somebody could build that. And again, just like build out like an umbrella off that. Nice. So I'd love to have that set up and find that person by the end of the year. So that's something that I'm literally actively started looking at probably this week. Second thing, similar to you, is I want to write my book. So the book that I want to do is on all of the interviews I've had on the Agency Growth Club. I'm sure you guys know, like I have, again, I told this story actually I was in Miami in November at Ryan Stewart's boot camp, right? And it was an agency acquisition boot camp. There's 25 SEO agency owners there, and there's me who owns the SEO recruitment company, right? So I look like the vulture in the room, right? But what was funny is I was able to keep up with everybody on talks at lunchtime and this, all because of the podcast that I'd done, and be like, you know, similar to, I think we had a conversation where there was a a conversation about if a freelance client, the asshole tax that I learned from Nick Eubanks, right? But like, I'm able to spit out all this information that, oh, I had X amount or X person on this, they said this, have you tried that? And they're like, flip me, I haven't heard about that.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd love to like put in a book where I basically put in all the lessons that I've learned and that like the people have spoken about on the interview, and have it like a Naval Ravikant, the almanac type of book where it's like just like
I love that style as well.
yeah, you just pick it up and like it's quick value straight away. And then as well on the hiring and staff retention thing, I can just go straight in like with our experience, our expertise, and like again bring the team in for that, see what we can do on that. So I want to get that done by the end of the year, which I don't know about you, but thinking the idea of like, because I don't want to use AI for it.
Yeah, that's the same as me. I want to write it. Like, I actually want to.
Well, I've gone on for 2 days.
Yeah, it does. But about voice noting really helps with it. Like, I just when I'm walking, that's a really
smart way.
yeah. That honestly, we love to talk as well. We'll just just voice noting. Yeah, honestly.
Because it's funny, I talk more to AI right now.
Second,
I actually just record to like demo.
I'm saying.
Yeah, it can't up. But what's funny is Jason, again, this is like spitting out stuff that I've learned on the podcast. Jason Hennessy that owns Hennessy Digital in LA, right? Like, I think they do like 25 million a year. And then there was somebody else, Chris Dreyer, who does 28 million a year. And somebody else, I can't remember who it was. But they basically, when I asked them like what was the biggest thing that they wish they did earlier in their career, all of three of them, I can't remember the third person, but said, write a book. Because writing a book then like puts you as a thought leader nearly automatically without people reading the book, but then it also gets you invited to speaking events. It also gets you invited to podcasts. And my worry is, right, that if I used AI just to extract as much stuff, like you guys know how much I love using AI, extract everything from this, right, and then put it into this and write like the best book on agency growth tips and whatever. And then I get invited to do X, Y, and Z, and somebody asks me like the answer to that, I'm like,
You not read the book before doing it?
I should have studied this.
Summarize this for me.
Yeah, so
It's similar to like when you do your dissertation at uni. It's like when as soon as you've written, you've really put so much energy and time and research into that. After you go and get a job, you can just talk about that to every employer because you know that subject inside and out. Because you've spent the last 12 weeks or something writing it. So
I don't know why I'm not. I didn't go to uni.
You get that feeling there. Is there going to be a page in the book?
What?
Is this going to be a page in the book?
What, this? Well, I don't know if there's anything about it.
this whole transcript is going in there. He's going to transcribe this later, stick this in there. Yeah.
But anyway, right. Anything to finish on, or are we all good?
She'll give one personal branding tip.
Oh,
Give you a second to think about it.
Yeah, go on. You go first then.
I'll start actually. So my personal branding is how you present yourself online, not online, offline. Sorry. It's like always, in my opinion, it sounds silly, but always be presentable and actually always just be in a consultative behavior. Like I've grown massively through being in co-working spaces across the country, mainly Soper's House where I'm based now. But I'm always trying to help people because I genuinely enjoy doing it. So by always giving back and like always just being presentable and willing to help people, I found that really helps.
I really like that.
Thanks.
I wish I did that one.
Yeah.
That's actually fantastic.
Thanks. No, it's find a way to put it online a bit more. But at scale.
yeah, I think it's just being raw. I think especially, a lot of the creators that I look at that I think are really good. A very good example is, have you guys seen Vukum?
I love Vukum. Yeah.
He's incredible.
Oh,
You'll need to see it.
You don't have TikTok though, do you?
He's on Instagram. He's on Instagram though. It's essentially this guy in New Jersey. He just sells watches, but he records.
There's the deals in the.
He records the actual deal. So he records him going to someone.
Yeah, like live negotiations.
It's so good. And I think just that stuff that you're doing in your day to day is so good. Unfortunately, I suppose with the nature of what I do, I actually can't, obviously I can't record someone's client meeting. It's not, everything.
You do a lot of stuff around finance. You go up to actually London, like how many, me and my sister are walking around London at the minute and we're like talking about, I know from my clients what they pay in London is like bulk
Yeah.
salary.
Yeah.
We're both able to quote, oh, did you see that video where they stop people in the street? And it's like, there's so much to spend on rent in London for a box. Or like, I know what the rent is in London, or not London, New York for a box, literally because of that.
Yeah,
So already
yeah.
I can do a lot of stuff because that fits into
Yeah.
finance. So how much money do you save per month?
Yeah.
You go up and say a load of things to that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
What are you saving for? Well, that would be an interesting question.
Yeah.
The client I mentioned earlier, the healthcare company, they do street interviews.
Yeah.
So they talk about online therapy a lot. They do really, really well because they have like really like jaw-dropping moments. It's like, oh yeah, what if I told you could get therapy for £10 or £40 or whatever their price is at the time? And it's like, well, how would you do that? Yeah. You can use those for ad creatives when you're ready. Let me know.
Yeah. But I think it's that raw, for me, I mean, it's something I definitely need to work on more because I came from a place where I was doing more polished stuff. And then I've started to go, I suppose, a bit more authentic with what I'm doing. And it just works so much better. And also I just get way better clients from it as well, like miles better. It's just that being yourself and just doing your own thing. And I think leaning into that as well is really important because I'm so different from a lot of wealth managers. That is the differentiating factor around working with me. Like that is how I'm different. And I think as well, you've got to think about when AI really starts to take hold of wealth management, there's AI robo-advisors is going to be a thing. And like, you're not going to have all this knowledge to gatekeep anymore because it's going to be very accessible. So the difference is going to be like, what's it like to work with you rather than an LLM or just some standard advisor.
I think you're exactly right about that as well. Because when we had, so Joe's given me loads of advice over those years, well, over the last couple of months over like financial stuff. And it's interesting because when I was working with businesses to build them up on digital marketing, I just worked with financial institutes, so mostly wealth advisors. But no one have I sat down and so personable and able to give me advice like you do. And you communicate that really well over camera, where a lot of people, even if they have got a similar personality to you where they're really nice, they can just talk to people, they can't communicate that over camera.
Yeah.
But you can, and I think that gives you an edge above.
Thanks. But I think it comes back to like, no one's going to be better at you than being yourself.
Yeah.
You like, if you're just yourself, there's no way that no one's ever going to be able to compete with that. Because no matter how many people try and copy my stuff, try and pick my clients, they're just not going to be able to do what I do because they don't have that skill set. They're not me.
Yeah.
Ray?
So I've got two actually. So the first one's actually an offline tip, and that one is all around, because I feel like my personal brand has been able to grow because of networking, but I've always gone into the mindset, and a lot of people don't agree with this, and that is that you shouldn't go out to network, just go out to make friends. And that's all. Every time I go to an event, if I go to a place, I never speak to people like, oh, what do you do for your business? Like, obviously I ask those questions as part of the conversation, but my goal is, could I get along with this person? Can I actually have a drink with them? Can I sit with them? Like you guys, we only met, technically we met through a networking thing, right? But we're here, we can chill, we can go out. I mean, we went shooting in America. It was like, not people, but
See this nice car in this eye. When you got me
do you know what? Darius was going to cover it, but we were like, thank God he did it, because he's so jumpy and if he shot that, it shook the room. Like, it would have, I think someone would have done it.
Honestly, everybody behind the thing just started gathering behind.
Everyone was looking at us, they were like, who are these kids? But yeah, I think it's the best way when you're looking at networking. If you really want to get in with people, don't go to them as in, I want you to sell you something, I want to buy you something. Go and make friends. Second thing is, for online, you are the niche.